Mayong adlaw. My name is Janine.
My name is John.
Hi, I'm Cherry.
My name is Mary Rose.
My name is JR.
And welcome to
The Pod Point.
Season 2! Welcome back to the Pot Point. Today is episode 2 of season 2. And with me today is JR and Maria.
Hello, hello.
How are you guys? How are you
Everyone.
doing?
Currently blessed for the opportunity to be given to us now, being able to talk again, having these long conversations, which is very powerful for people who are seeking Christ.
Aww. Yes, thanks, JR. And Mariang, how are you doing today?
I'm good, actually. I'm good. The week has been great to me, and hopefully next week.
Yes. Well, you know what, guys? As we mentioned to you that every fourth Sunday of the month, we would be preparing an episode where we will have a guest. And today is that day. We have a very special guest. And I'd like to introduce our guest for today. He is actually, I met him during our Hagay training, and groupmate ni Nako, classmate, a group leader namo. That's where we met, and also his wife Ate Kati. And moving forward, I also would like to let him know what he is currently doing, what his work. He is actually a business life coach, a transformational speaker, a team building facilitator, a customer experience mentor, recollection and retreat facilitator. And he's also a school chaplain for Asian Learning Center. He is none other than, please help me welcome Kuya Vince Sta Elena.
Hello.
Hello, Kuya. Welcome.
welcome,
Ang
Kuya.
pinakagwapo ang bunga na mo,
Yes.
amigo.
I would agree.
Yes. How are you doing, Kuya?
Great. I'm doing very great. God has blessed us so much with this business of transforming lives. We're training leaders globally to impact their world locally.
Yes. Mojo niya kung gusto ni mo, no need for an icebreaker. You are the icebreaker.
Thank you for inviting me here,
Yes,
Janine.
it's a pleasure, Kuya. So let's get it on and ask you this question. You know, we know, Kuya, that you actually graduated sa course na radiologic technology.
Yes.
And you're actually a licensed.
Yes, a license.
Yes, and a top-notcher pa, diba?
Wow.
And then you
Sana
worked
halls.
with a as in
Sana all.
amazing. You work with a pharmaceutical company for 10 years, and I'm just curious on what led you to become a life coach and organize this company that you have, which is One Team, right?
Yes.
That's the name of
One
the company.
Team International.
One Team International,
Yes.
yes.
When I was with the pharmaceutical industry in the last 10 years, we had a lot of trainings. We had a lot of times where we would be sent to different places to be trained. So when I retired at the age of 35 with GlaxoSmithKline, I realized I had that passion of sharing and teaching, because during our trainings, our facilitators would be very surprised that I would end up being the facilitator instead of being a participant. So somehow, that already was a sign that, you know, my giftings was geared towards that direction. And I really enjoy training. It's not really like it's work for me.
Yeah.
In fact, since the last 12 years since I retired, I have never worked a day in my life.
Wow.
So every time I do my training, I really enjoy doing it. And it's so very light, because I just want to share with you that when we do trainings, our goal really is to transform lives by sharing the gospel to end gospel poverty.
Yun eh. Sa Hagay training yun eh.
Yes, yes.
That's really special, Kuya. And Mariang, you wanna say something?
I'm actually amazed because from a rad tech,
Tech,
right?
yes.
To a transformational
Speaker.
speaker.
Mhm.
So it's your life is a testimony that your bachelor's degree
Mhm.
is not the end.
End.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Mm,
along the
mm.
way, you can really pursue what you really want,
That's true.
and you can
Mm.
discover still in the phase of discovery, right?
That's
Mm,
true.
mm,
Even
mm.
after you graduate.
Yes, I believe if you understand your giftings, if you do what you're passionate about,
Yeah, exactly.
if you just follow what the Lord has created you to be,
Mm.
you will really be fulfilled in what you do.
Yes, I
Amen.
totally agree on
Yes.
that, and that's what you really call the God's purpose.
God's purpose,
in
that's
our
true.
lives.
Mm.
And I like what you just said, Kuya, na your work doesn't actually feel work
That's
because
true.
you really like it.
That's true.
And
Because
I
you
heard
love
that
what-
if you are doing
Mhm.
something that you love, and even if you're not paid for it,
Yes.
and you're really into it,
Yes,
that's safe to say that it really is what God is.
That's true.
leading
in fact,
you to.
that's exactly how I started. I would be invited to speak in churches, in companies, and the biggest thing that would be challenging for me at that time was when they would ask how much would be my professional fee. Because honestly, even if I don't get paid, I'm already okay. Just give me the chance to speak, I'm already okay. And I remember my first professional fee was with a school where my first PF was a cake and a gift check worth 5,000 pesos.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
and I told myself, ooh, they're really, serious about this.
Mm,
But
mm.
it's so funny, I never got to use that gift check of 5,000, but it was already enough to make me be excited
Mm, mm.
to really do these things called trainings.
Are you married na ba? Or around
Yes.
this-
I was married when I was 20 to a beautiful wife, Kathy.
Wow.
And we have been married for 27 years. So our
Wow.
children are now all grown up. So since then, we have been, for the last how many years, we're always together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're always on a date.
Sana all yun.
Ay, gusto ko yan. Always
Yes.
on a date.
Always on a date. I think in a week, we would go 3 to 4 times a week on a date.
Mm.
Oh, that's nice.
That's how you value relationships.
Yes,
no?
JR. Yon. Points
Yes.
yon.
Mm.
Check. Okay, remind.
It's not about the setting, it's about the,
Noted.
it's about the
Noted.
person.
Yes.
It's not about the setting, it's about the person
That's
you're
true.
with. Yeah.
That's true.
Like the quality of the relationship.
That's true.
Yeah.
I agree.
And sometimes when we go on a date, we don't even necessarily always have to dress up.
Mhm.
Bitaw.
Sometimes we go on a simple date. We go Dunkin'.
Mhm.
You know what's
Mhm.
Dunkin'? Dunkin' amot. We eat with our hands. Sometimes we go to
So
Macdo.
witty.
You know
Yeah,
Macdo?
yeah.
Macdoko-doko. So those simple dates, those are the dates that it's more meaningful to us.
Yeah.
Because with my line of work, we really get to enjoy vacations all the time. Because when we have events, we usually hold it in hotels.
Mm.
When usually they give us accommodation, they usually give us, food and all of that. So for us, those are regular things.
Mm, okay.
So what would be special is the opposite. So
Yeah.
like wearing suit and tie is a regular. So wearing t-shirt and shorts is actually
Is
the
it?
special. So it's
Mm.
like the opposite of
Mm.
yes, because
Cute.
yeah. And the good thing about what we do, aside from being able to impact the lives of others,
Yeah.
is we are able to spend quality time together. I know Janine, my daughter, passed away 5 years ago. I have 3
Yes.
children. My youngest daughter, Isabel, passed 5 years ago. But God is so good
Yeah.
because she gave us another daughter. Her name is Macy.
And I met her.
Yes. And she's 5 years old right now.
Mhm.
She's actually not my daughter. She's the daughter of my brother. But we have been taking good care of her. 6 na pala. Yeah, she just turned 6.
Mhm.
Just this month? Last month, August. Yeah, she just
Yeah,
turned
happy
6.
birthday, Macy.
Yes. And Macy, it's so amazing because my daughter's name, Isabel, means dedicated to God.
Mm.
Yeah.
Macy means gift from God.
Wow.
You see how amazing it is?
It
I
is.
always believe if earth fails, heaven won't.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's true.
That's true.
Always God
And-
will provide.
And God
Yeah.
is really the God who gives and takes away.
Yeah, He gives and gives and gives and gives.
Oh, I like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
he gives always
Uh-uh.
because love is always about giving,
Yeah.
and receiving. I believe love is not about taking because love is always your heart when you are in love, when you love, it's always giving. And that's who our God is. He's always giving all the time. The problem is only the recipient when you're not ready to receive.
Yeah,
His
exactly.
blessing is always overflowing. We have seen that in our lives, favor after favor after
After favor.
favor.
Mm.
And that's the life that we have been living. If there is one person who has been living the favor of God every day, we have seen it, it's us.
Mm.
And speaking of that, your life, Kuya, I
Mm.
think JR, you would want to ask this question. Go
Mm.
ahead.
Mhm.
See, Kuya, I have a question for you. It's a really personal thing, no?
Mhm.
If you were to compare yourself, no, the Kuya Vince from a younger years, younger self, and the Kuya Vince that you are today,
Mhm.
what is the most valuable change that you think that you have noticed during in times of great
Very good.
seasons?
First is, I think, first and foremost is my understanding of who God, our God is.
That's true.
That's the beginning of everything. When you have the right perspective of who your God is, which is He is a God of love. His plans for you are good and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. The Bible tells us perfect love casts out all fears. So when I have discovered that I have a God who loves me, everything changed. I
That's a
used
great
to
perspective.
think my God is like, some days He loves me, some days I don't. Some days He loves me when I perform, some days don't. But you know what? I realize He's not that kind of God. He's the kind of God that doesn't based on my performance. Because Jesus has already performed everything on the
Yeah.
cross.
Yeah, exactly.
He has already done everything. And all I have to do is be a
True.
good receiver of His goodness and of His love. And sometimes that's the problem. We always feel that we don't deserve to receive His love.
True.
He's not the variable. It is us who's the variable.
Mm.
He's not the one who lacks. It is us who lacks. I remember the story of the widow. It was not that the supply ended. It was that the capacity for him to receive ended because of his capacity to receive. So his blessing is unlimited. The only limitation is us when we limit him because this is the only thing that we believe.
Yeah, we put him in a box.
We put him in a box, we put him in a limitation, but actually he doesn't limits us. Because every father would always want what is best for their children.
Yeah.
And when I have understood the love of God, as in not just knowing here, but experiencing His love, seeing how He loves me every day of my life, in every situation that I am, it's a total transformation of how I became. I became more loving, I became more understanding. And since I have understood His love, I also became that person who He is.
Yeah.
I became more loving, understanding,
Mhm,
giving,
mhm.
generous. Ask my wife how different I was before I met Christ and after I met Christ. Yesterday we had an activity. She wrote there because I do trainings and
Yeah.
sometimes I include her in our training. And part of our activity was we had to go around, write some in the paper. If you would describe this person, how he would be, please put a description. And you know what he described about me? He said, generous. And you know what? I'm not.
Did it surprise you?
It didn't surprise me anymore. But I know I was not that person before. Since you were asking me
Yeah,
who
yeah.
was I was before. I was selfish, self-centered, arrogant. Name it. I am the worst of the worst. But when the love of God transformed me, I became the best of the best.
Wow. That's a great testimony.
Yeah, and if you really understood who God really is, your life will really be transformed
Exactly.
into the into like who Jesus is.
That's true. The image of Christ.
That's
Correct.
epitome of like walk with God,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Kuya, speaking of transformation, just listening to you, yes, definitely I am amazed and how gracious God is in your life. Listening to it, it sounds so easy, like wow, ganon. But the transformation, how was it to you? Was it painful, difficult process?
It's like Jesus would said, if you want to follow me, come take up your cross.
Yeah.
So just
Correct.
like Jesus would always stumble and rise up, stumble and rise up. When I decided to transform, it was not, I understood right from the start that the power is not because of my willpower. It is by the grace of God.
Yeah.
And several times, yes, I stumbled. But they say, just like what my dad would say, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you stand up after the fall.
Mm.
Until I realized that, I don't have to do this over and over again.
Yeah.
I can make a choice not to stumble over and over and over again. How? By watching your steps. A lot of times, people perish for the lack of knowledge because we are ignorant.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to learn more about His ways, learn more about how to live my life according to His ways.
Yeah.
And when I discovered His ways, it was easy. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6 tells us, if you trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. That's humility.
Yeah.
In all of your ways, acknowledge
Acknowledge
Him.
Him,
He
and
will
He will
direct
make
your
Your
path.
Yes.
straight.
So I believe my path is straighter now. It's because, not because I'm good, but because He's good.
Mm.
Not because I'm smart, but because He's just good.
Mm.
And His goodness is the one that helps me transform. And another thing that I also discovered is, if you continue to walk in darkness, you would always stumble because you cannot see where you're going.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if you continue to live in the light, which starts with confessing, when you are wrong, you admit you're wrong, you confess, you bring something in darkness into the light.
Mm.
So everything that is being brought into the light is going to be much more beautiful, much clearer, and everything would be much easier because you can see.
Mm.
So stumbling down is no longer as often as before. But the good news is, no matter how many times you fall, His faithfulness, His goodness, His mercies are new every morning. So at the end of the
I like
day,
that.
it's always good.
Mm.
Aww. True.
Yes.
Oh, true. But Mariang, you want to know more about the marriage of Kuya
I'm
Vince?
actually
and-
curious
Yes.
about it because
Ah, okay.
we've heard that
Biglang kinilig sa marriage.
grabe ang
Bitaw.
transition. So we've heard Kuya na you've been married for 27 years.
Mm.
Wow, 27 years of God's faithfulness.
Mm.
Anyway, so the question is, can you share to us one thing? And also, you also have kids already, as you've mentioned, diba? So can you share us one thing that makes you the happiest when you are with them? Or this one thing, is there a one thing that, what do you call this?
Unforgettable moment.
Yeah.
Unforgettable
Unforgettable
moment.
moment with your family. If you can remember.
A
like
lot.
One
one
thing that makes you feel happy,
Happy?
when you're with your
Oh.
family, and one thing that is unforgettable
Mhm.
as a family.
Okay. You know what? It's hard to single out one thing,
Mm.
but it's always the simplest things.
Mm.
Like as simple as the other day, we had an event and we were swimming. I was playing with Macy and she was having a great time. She was hugging me and telling me, Papa Vince, thank you so much. She was telling me, Papa Vince, I love you.
Mm.
She's not even my daughter, but the appreciation that she shows me about how much grateful she is for the experience and the love that we have shared with her made me realize and said, Lord, thank you so much
Mm.
for this beautiful opportunity to even take care of Macy. You know why I always share Macy? I have other children, but why Macy? Macy is a representation of second chances.
Mm.
Macy is the
Mm-mm.
daughter of my brother. He's the fourth daughter of my brother. She came to life without being planned. She just came. In fact, they discovered her after 6 months already.
Mm. Okay.
And when she was born, we took good care of her because her mom was so busy at work. They could not take care of her. So we had to take care of her. And my daughter Isabel was able to take care of her for 7 months.
Mm. Okay.
And together with that, we were able to play with her. But this is what I'm so amazed about how good God is. When my children were growing up, I was very busy with work. I never had a chance to play with them, to spend time with them.
Yeah.
But you know what? I was able to do that with Macy, to play with her, to teach her, to encourage her. Like Macy came at a point in time where I was already the better Vince.
Okay. That's a great perspective.
Huh? I was already the better Vince, which some of my children have not even experienced the better Vince. Although they are experiencing it now,
Right now.
but they have not experienced it ever since they were young because I had to work. But that is who our God is. Sometimes we keep looking for, Isabels in our lives. Those things that we have to let go, to dedicate, to surrender to the Lord, without appreciating the Macy's, the gift of God. And that has always been the story in the garden.
Yeah.
God would said, you may eat of any tree in the garden except for this one tree. And we always look for that one tree that is not available, that is not for us. And then we disregard all those things that we have. So I've learned to be happy in life, in family, in business, in whatever we have, is to appreciate what you currently have.
Yeah.
It's a matter of contentment.
Yes, it's a matter of contentment. It's a matter of recognizing God's blessing and favor. So when you are able to recognize His goodness in your life, contentment would follow. It's a fruit. It's really a fruit of your intimacy with Him.
Amen to that.
Diba? Sabi ko, diba?
I-
You
I
would
like-
learn a lot
Yeah.
from Kuya Vince.
I was just kanang listening to Kuya and so I like how Kuya enjoys every little
That's
things, diba?
That's true.
And sometimes we miss that.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, because
we
we're
get,
too focused on
again, remember the highly neurotic word you just gave
Yeah.
us, JR,
Mhm.
that you get anxious over everything, every little
Yeah.
things in your
Overthinking.
life, and then you forget the blessings that you have. Yeah, that's
Philippians chapter 4 verse 6.
do not be
Do not
anxious.
Be anxious about
About
anything, but in every situation, by prayer, supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and let the peace of God that surpasses all understanding guard your mind and heart in Christ Jesus. And then Paul said, in everything, be contented. In abundance and in lack, be contented. And then he also said, think of things that are true, lovely, pure, good report, praiseworthy. Meditate on those things. And you know what's so amazing? That's when the 4:13 came. And I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So it starts with you actually rejoicing in the Lord always, making a decision to rejoice in Him always, deciding not to worry about anything, being contented, and then making a decision to choose the right things. And you know what? You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength.
Yeah.
So that's the pattern. That's really a pattern. Rejoice, do not worry, pray, be contented, think of the right things, and then you can do all things. That's what I have learned. And that's not just a verse that I read, it's a verse that I live.
yes.
And that verse came when my daughter was diagnosed. So it's not something that I just read in the Bible, it's something that I personally experienced. And then that part, you see where it says, and the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. You know when I experienced that, JR? At the hospital when my daughter passed from death to life. It's really, that was the time where I realized that being away from the body is being present with the Lord. Immediately, I made a decision at the time of my daughter's passing to celebrate. Why? Because in my daughter's perspective, she is now celebrating with the Lord.
Yeah.
The last breath on earth is the first breath in heaven. So we made a decision to celebrate. You know what? In the ER during that time, we were singing songs of praise. And we would sound crazy for the doctors and everybody, but we were singing, give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because He has given Jesus Christ, His Son. And that's the reason for the celebration, because He gave His best for us. And our daughter was simply a gift for us to steward. And we just have to give her back. And you know what? And then Macy came. Gift from God. You just have to appreciate what the Lord is going to give you. What is it that you have in your hand? Start appreciating what you have rather than worrying and thinking about what you don't have.
Because oftentimes, people really worry about the things that they can't control.
That's
True.
But that's how, like, people who are anxious, people who
Mm.
are depressed,
Yeah.
people who get easily vulnerable to stress,
Yeah.
oftentimes do is
Ye-
to think about things that
They
are
can
beyond
control.
your control. Yeah.
You know what I have learned? I know we're running out of time, but if I may share with you,
Sure, sure.
I just taught this before coming over. I have learned to recognize and divide and write it down. What are the things I can do something about, and what are the things that I can't do anything about?
Mm.
So I do the things that I can. I list it down. These are the things I can do. I list it down. I do it immediately. And the things that I can't control, these are the things I pray.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
you pray. You know, people get stressed out because they try to do things that they can't
Yeah, exactly.
and then
Exactly.
not do the things that they can. So that's where the stress is really coming.
Mm.
But if you are able to recognize, okay, these are the things I can do, I do it. These are the things I can't, I surrender to the Lord. For example, you worry about how people would react, would respond to you, stop worrying about it. You're worried about what people would choose, how they would decide, the consequence of your action, stop worrying about it. These are the things you pray and you surrender to the Lord. What
Mm.
you can't and what you can, you do. That's it. And you know, I realized life is more simple. And much simpler if you write it down, because you can tick it off, you can pray for it.
So
You
you,
know?
do journaling din, Kuya?
Yes. You know
Oo.
what's so crazy? People keep praying about the things that they can and trying to fix the things that they can't.
Yeah, that's why they're highly anxious.
So ironic.
Completely the opposite.
The opposite,
Mm,
which
mm,
should have
mm.
been the things you can, surrender, the things you can, do. You know what stresses people out? When you stop doing the things you can do and start worrying about the things that you can't do
Yeah.
anything about.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
I'll take note of that,
Yes.
Kuya. I just realized.
Yes, Marian.
ito,
Yeah, how
sa
simple.
control.
Write it down.
Mm.
We're trying to control things na beyond our control.
Yeah.
Because then it gives you hope.
Yes. And this is where humility comes into the picture. Diba Jesus said, cast all your burdens upon me, and I will give you rests.
Mm.
For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart. You know what I realized? People cannot cast their burden because they are arrogant.
Yeah.
Because he said, I am
Exactly.
meek. The word meek there is being whole and humble.
Mm.
So when you are able to cast all your burdens upon him, tells you that you are meek and humble.
Mm.
If you cannot cast your burdens upon him, tells me that you are prideful.
Mm.
In fact, the antidote to pride is prayer. I learned that there are 3 enemies in life:
Mm.
pride, greed, and lusts. And the way to deal with this is to deal with pride is to pray. A person who doesn't pray is a person who is prideful.
Yeah.
Correct.
The way to deal with lust is fasting. You fast so that you learn to deal with lust. And the way to deal with greed is you give. And
Mm.
tithes is just the training wheel of giving.
Mm. Mm.
God wants us to be a generous giver, give beyond the tithe. So when you pray, it teaches you humility. When you give, it teaches you generosity.
Mm.
And when you also fast, it teaches you control, which you are able to deal with the 3 major enemies in life: pride, greed, and lust. That's how simple it is.
Mm.
Sounds so simple, but again, people,
Mhm.
humans, complicate things.
Correct.
That's true.
But our God is a God of, peace and
Yes.
things that are clear and things that
Mm.
are really
He's a God of
simple.
order.
Yeah,
That's
a God
true.
of order.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's just really us who complicates things.
Yes.
And on that note, Kuya.
Mhm.
Well, Podpoint is actually targeted for young
Mm.
adults. And we wanted to, it's our mission to be able to point them to Jesus,
Yes,
of course.
yes.
And that's how our lives,
Yes.
hopefully, that is.
Mm.
But I just wanted to ask Kuya, like, I know today's young adults, they're also
Mhm.
going through
Mhm.
what adulting is and all of that.
Mhm.
What could be your advice
Mhm.
to them?
Okay.
Anything that you would want to share with them in dealing their
Alright,
life
I like
right
that.
now?
I like that question. The success formula in the Bible, A lot of people knows about this already.
Mm.
Matthew 6:33. And it says, seek first. It tells you priority. It's not 6 seconds, 6 last, 6 third. It's seek first. And I like to point this to a person. Seek first the King. Okay? Seek first the King. A lot of times when we say kingdom, people get that impression of going to church and all of that, but it's a person. The word kingdom is a person, king and his dominion. That's the word kingdom. King and his dominion. And in modern language, dominion is simply management or his way of doing things. So if you look at the word kingdom, it's simply seek first the King, that's Jesus, and his way of doing things. How will you know his ways of doing things? It's in the word. It's in his life. You look at his life, you follow his life. So if you seek first the King and his dominion, the way he's doing things, and his righteousness, when you find the King, you will find righteousness, because the Bible tells us he became sin for us so that him who knew no sin would become the righteousness. We would become the righteousness of God in Christ. So our righteousness is not based on our performance. It is based on what he has already performed for us on the cross. So if you are able to seek the King, in other words, it's an intimacy, it's a relationship with the King. He said, all these things, say all. Come on, say all.
All.
All these things will be added to you. So it says added. It's not something you work for it. It's added, meaning it is given as a bonus because you have seek the King and has done the ways he's doing. So sakto pa, so simple, the more Christ-like you become, all these things will be added. No more striving because Jesus has already won the victory. The good thing about us being a follower of Christ, we are already standing on the side of victory.
Yeah.
Not from being a loser to victorious, because Jesus has already won it for us. Okay? That's it.
We are fighting from victory.
From victory. You're already a winner.
Yeah.
You're not trying to be a winner. You're not trying to win in life. You are already starting from the point of victory. You are already a winner. And that's make a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that really helps our young adults, especially for the ones listening in our podcast. And going back to that, Kuya, I just want to share also that, again, because I think people are always seeking, especially the young adults, they're really seeking of their purpose in life. And when they start to ask that, at some point, they may go in a wrong route and they seek the things that are not to be seeked for. Yeah, and then it just goes to say about that when you want to get the purpose of find the purpose of your life, it all begins with who your creator is.
Exactly.
And that's God.
It's knowing how you are designed to be. Every house and every architect, before he creates the design, he has a purpose for it. And if you want to know the purpose, you go back to the designer. That's why when you seek him, you will find him. And when you find him, you will discover all of these things shall be simply added to you.
Things will be added.
And lastly, if I may add,
Sure,
Sure,
Kuya.
Kuya.
Go ahead.
if I may add, the blessings of the Lord makes one rich, but there is no added sorrow to it. True blessing from the Lord is not a burden. Because it says, true blessing that comes from the Lord, there is no added sorrow. And that is the type of relationship that I have with this King of mine, who's generous. The glory of the King is in his wealth. So we are serving a King who is glorious, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, a King that is generous. He is not only willing, he is able. Some of us were able but not willing. Some of us are willing but not able. He is both willing and able.
Amen.
Amen.
To that. Thank you so much, Kuya Vince.
Yes, you're
That's
welcome.
our
Thank you, Kuya.
wrap. We've
Whoa.
learned a lot.
Thank you.
Well, I'll give the honors to JR and Mariang to do the call to action before we bid our goodbyes.
All right. If you want more content like this, kindly like, follow, and subscribe our socials in YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and Facebook. That is the Podpoint. That is THEPODPOINTE. And also our official socials in our church, which is currently in Facebook and YouTube. That is Crosspoint Church Cebu.
And we're also inviting you guys to join our Sunday service, of course, every Sunday here at Crosspoint Church. One Central Hotel.
Right, you're actually right.
I mixed them up. Okay, so One Central Hotel, 7th floor at 10 a.m.
Yes, thank you, Marian. And of course, Crosspoint Church is gonna be celebrating its anniversary. It's
Wow.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
October 8th, and would like to invite you to come to our worship service. What time is it specifically?
10 a.m.
Still at
Still
10
at
a.m.
10,
10
and
a.m.
still at the same venue, One Central Hotel, 7th floor. So
And we have an additional evening service during our Fran Day. It will be at around 6 or 7.
yes,
Mm.
6, around
Around
6.
6,
Yeah, it's at 6 p.m.
just as what Kuya Vince said.
More details to follow.
Yes.
Actually, I will be here on October 8th. It's my mom's birthday.
Mm.
But I
Ooh.
will be doing an event for the Alain group of companies at the Molave Ballroom. So it's a team building
Oh.
for them.
Oh,
And
okay.
Kuya, please let us know about One Team International.
Yes, thank you very much for that opportunity to share about One Team International. Our passion is really to transform lives through the gospel. Basically, there's no secret to it. If you want a life that is transformed, it's only through the power of the gospel, the good news, and that is Jesus Christ himself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kuya
Thank you,
Vince.
Thank you, Kuya Vince.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
deserve a round of applause.
Daghang salamat.
Thank you, and that's it. Once again, see you in our next episode.
Bye. Thank you.
That's a wrap.
What's up, everybody? The Pointe family would like to hear from you. If you want to share or ask something about our episodes, or if you want to suggest a topic for next discussion, please, you can send us an email to thepodpointcebu@gmail.com. It is the Podpoint's mission to point today's young adults to Jesus. We hope that our podcast gives them the encouragement and teachings they need in facing their life issues. So, we would love you to share this episode to your friends and family. Also, please follow and rate our Spotify account. This will surely help us reach more people on this platform. I will end with a verse. Psalm 115, verse 1. Not to us, Lord, not to us, but to your name give glory. For the sake of your steadfast love and your faithfulness. See you all!